Alright. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Mike, you want to say hi to the people at home? Mike, this is a visual and audio experience. You got to be able to speak.
Oh, I got to talk?
I mean, typically, yes.
Nobody told me that.
It's preferred.
Oh. Hi? Question mark?
Hello, everybody. As always, I'm Brad. That's Mike. We're Dallas GEEK, and we are here.
This feels so weird with me being on the right side.
I'm wherever the tech is, so that's fair.
Whatever. Okay.
So we are back live from Madness Games and Comics up in Plano, Texas. Mike, it's been a minute since we've been here, right?
Yeah. I don't remember when our last live was, but it's definitely been a minute. You know, life happens.
Yep.
The vid happens.
Second time.
You're sticking with the vid, not the Kobe Pokey?
I mean, I would call it something, you know, maybe a little more
no,
region-specific
we're
or
not
country-specific.
We're not going there.
It was made in a lab, Brad.
I would really prefer not to get censored by the Googles or the Facebook overlords, you know, the lizard people. So, yes, no, I definitely prefer not to do that. But, yes, so, guys, we are back, and we have a jam-packed show today. We're going to be doing a recap of San Diego Comic-Con, which...
Why is it jam-packed? Oh, wait, you just said it.
Yeah.
I gotta work on those segues.
Normally, saying that we're doing a recap of San Diego Comic-Con would be busy anyway. But this year, a lot more so. Because for the first time in over a decade, comic books actually had the majority of the big announcements and releases at Comic-Con rather than movies, which... I mean, go figure. Comic-Con having more comic announcements than movies. Who knew?
Yeah, it's almost like a, yeah.
A thing.
There you go.
With some stuff.
There you go.
And a place.
Yep, I got
people.
Yep, I'm just, on my A game today.
Do you need some more coffee? You can reach over and, you know, fuel up if you need. Good for you. So, yes, for the first time in over a decade, we have... so many comic announcements, and because we do understand that timing is a thing for our show, we are going to try to get through as many of those as we can, as quickly as we can, and not, you know, just completely bogarted time, hopefully.
Yeah, but isn't that something we would want to do?
Well, I mean, we'd like to, but not indefinitely. That's later.
Okay.
That's later. We have to, you know, become more popular for that to be acceptable.
Or we can just force ourselves onto them and make them accept us.
I didn't consent to that.
I don't care what you consent to.
On that note,
just you specifically.
Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump into it. Oh boy, there is so much to talk about, but surprisingly, the movie announcements were relatively light, with comic book movies being the lightest, aside from, you know, Marvel. And even then, we didn't really get that much from Marvel that we didn't already know. So let's go ahead and start with the non-Marvel stuff, because I think that's going to be the easiest to get through, and kind of go from there. So
I guess just the non-comic stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So for the first of the big non-comic book, non-Marvel items, we have Dungeons and Dragons. We officially got the
that's a
trailer
graphic.
drop. Yes, I know. Crazy. And it's actually not fully covering us up.
How did you...
So, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. This actually looks like it's going to be a decent movie, which, considering D&D's track record for movies, is not saying a lot, but I will say the cast, what we see of the writing so far, even the portrayal of the different class types, I think has a lot of promise. And there is, I think it's going to be a really, really fun movie.
Yeah, I hope it goes better than, you know, the last big theatrical release, which...
The Waynes brothers.
Well, no, it was just one of them. It was just Marlon.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a movie that took itself too seriously.
It forgot the joke.
Well, so here's the thing. If they would have done it as, like, an actual fantasy, like, extravaganza, like an actual fantasy, like, basically... grandiose type film, and they would have actually done it with some production value and with a decent cast, it probably could have turned out halfway decently. Like if they were going for the serious tone.
Maybe.
But
like, dude, there's still a lot with that
Yeah.
just They missed the mark so bad, and honestly, as a kid, I didn't really realize how bad they missed the mark with that. What was it, late
God,
90s, early 2000s?
You didn't? I did the first time I saw it.
I came to D&D late in the game, so that was actually one of my first bits of exposure to it, and I didn't realize it wasn't supposed to be that kind of.
But I'm not even talking from a D&D standpoint. It was just a bad movie.
Yeah.
Generally.
No, definitely. But no, I didn't realize that wasn't what D&D was until later on, and then once I got to understand what D&D was and
what
how
did you
good
think
it could
D&D was at that time?
I wasn't entirely sure. I knew there was a lot of fantasy. Obviously, there were dungeons, there were dragons, there was magic, but sometimes. Maybe a lich.
I can't say much. I just did a brass dragon recently.
Yeah, if you can hear, Kyla's over here off screen playing producer for us today.
Being a pain in the ass, like always.
Man, I'd be kind to our producer for the day. She's controlling our social medias.
You are being very kind with the term producer. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow. Anyway, so yeah, this honestly, I will say the thing that's made me most excited about the D&D movie, more than just the trailer and the marketing, because you can never really trust marketing for a movie, it's been the interviews and the tone of what the actors have been saying in the interviews about their experiences with D&D and how much fun they had on the movie. Just the fact that the cast talked about the playing D&D together on set, outside of filming, since the filming was completed, still getting together and having fun with that and really nerding out. That gives me hope that maybe they understood it well enough and the director understood it well enough to give us something approximating the D&D experience.
I am not going into that movie expecting anything other than something that, like, maybe I'll have fun.
Yeah?
That's all I'll say.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Also excited that they classes of what our party's gonna be.
Yes, yeah, that is pretty cool to actually see the proper classing of the characters and not just, oh well, this is a guy that, you know, maybe he's a rogue, maybe he's not, but he's got some traits to him. No, this is very clearly intentional, which is cool. It's very, very cool. Plus, I know it may be really, really nerdy to have gotten a bit giddy to see a gelatinous cube on screen, but I got kind of nerdy excited to see a gelatinous cube on screen.
Well, I had that effect whenever I saw Word, but then to see it again, I was like, yes.
That's fair. It's fair.
Classic D&D.
So how's our stream coming in on the YouTubes and the Facebooks? Yeah. Got a solid stream on both. No technical issues that you can see. Neat. I think you might have just blown your mic out a little bit, but okay.
I do.
Also, I don't know if this is real wood.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, close enough.
I mean, if we go get a ladder, we can find out, and I can put you through it.
Yeah, let's try that. Then, of course, outside of D&D, we had a few other big announcements. Obviously, John Wick 4 was announced.
Keanu kills 4.
Which, I mean, at this point, I don't think any of us are going to say no to another John Wick, just because they are having so much fun with that. But I feel like John Wick is kind of at the same level of sequel baiting as the Fast and Furious franchise. You can get another one, and the fans are not going to say no because it's just fun to see another.
The general populace might have it, right?
Exactly. The general populace is probably going to get to a point, if they haven't already, that they're saying, why is there another? But the fans are going to go, yes, another.
Yeah,
and
but
it's just fun, honestly.
Even,
John Wick's just fun.
Yeah, but like, even as ridiculous as the John Wick universe can be with like the Assassins universe and that kind of stuff, it's still way more coherent than anything Fast and Furious has done in the last like 6 movies. So that's why people are going to stick with it.
I'm never going to knock on the Fast and Furious franchise. A, because I don't want to incite the ire of the fans, because they are dedicated fans.
No, they're not fans, Brad. They're a family.
I mean, you are not wrong. But yeah,
and that level of love that they have is furious.
You get mad at me about it?
That's right. I'll be here all week, bitches. Deal with it.
I think that's the one thing I think that saves John Wick a lot when it comes to having these sequels, but like sequels one after the other, is how it's done. It's not so grossly.
What I just said.
No, it's so. What I was gonna say more in the sense of two directors are trying to shoot style while also still being like mindful of what they're putting into it. Like, for example, with the first and second one, I'm pretty sure the third one as well. Like, done,
Yeah.
reloads are done. So it's unrealistic enough that you can still be immersed without being like, really just throw a car at a helicopter.
That's fair.
For the 5th time.
which I will say, did you see the episode of Corridor Digital's VHS or visual effects artists react for John Wick?
No.
They were actually decently impressed with the effects there, going, okay, yes, this muzzle flare for this gun doesn't quite match up, and this, but overall they were actually decently impressed with the accuracy. And when they went back to try to correct it, it was more just having fun and going over the top than actually correcting.
Yeah.
So in fairness, there is a level of accuracy that the effects artists do on that movie that does it right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So now there are really only two other movies that I thought were worth noting. You had Barbarian, which is a horror movie about an Airbnb, which we're already at that point where we are getting a horror movie about an Airbnb. Neat.
Just do what.
If the Strangers horror movie had been about 5 years ago.
I was just
Yes,
gonna say,
probably.
just do what we did when we went to our Airbnb a couple weeks ago. Just take a gun, an extra magazine, and everything's gonna work out just fine.
With that, then the other one, and this is one that we're not going to give a whole lot of time to.
Unless it's a ghost. Unless it's a ghost or a poltergeist.
Hey, Ghost, rock salt.
All right, but you got to get special rounds for that, and that's just a pain in the ass to clean up too.
Planning. Anyway.
Plus, I don't want to have to clean that up in somebody else's home.
That's for the Supernatural fans out there. Don't worry about it. And then, of course, one that we do not want to spend too much time on for reasons of internet politics. Dragon Ball Super
Why the
Superhero.
shit not? It's Dragon Ball and they're making Gohan relevant again. And Piccolo, too.
Because we are YouTube creators and we are going to support other YouTube creators, and we're not going to support the company who has been intentionally screwing over YouTube creators with false copyright claims.
But we'll still post things on YouTube.
Yeah, same idea though.
But we'll still post things on YouTube?
Yes, because it wasn't YouTube's fault.
YouTube screws over other
It was Toei
content
Animation.
creators.
It was Toei's fault. So we're not gonna. Anyway,
YouTube does it too.
no, YouTube just doesn't correct it.
Or they do it themselves.
With that, we're gonna get into the actual fun bits here. So Marvel, the biggest bit of movie announcements that we got from the entirety of Comic-Con, and this we're gonna have to go through very, very fast because there is so much to cover. So we got the update on Phase 5 and the look ahead to Phase 6. So we now know.
Well, a little bit of a look ahead.
Yeah,
We got 3 of the, 8
we know
things in
where
phase-
they're
phase
heading.
6.
We
Yeah.
know that Phase 5 and 6 are the Multiverse Saga. Officially, it has been named.
Well, and Phase 4 too.
Phase 4, 5, and 6, sorry.
There
We know
Damn it,
that
Brad, if you're going to say something, say it correctly.
there have been some updates. We know that Agatha's movie has been given a new name.
Right.
Agatha and the Covenant of Chaos.
Instead of, I think it was just House of Harkness, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. And we know that there's been a little bit of reordering of a few things, but nothing that we weren't already more or less made aware of
Yeah,
before.
Ant-Man and, I think, what was it? Ant-Man and Captain Marvel sequel swapped places.
Yeah.
And then I think that was really it, right? No, Blade never had an
No, but
never had an
it
official
was kind of
release.
assumed
Yeah.
because it was a late edition that it was going to be later. So
Right.
seeing that it is going to be middle of the pack is nice. That is actually very nice.
That was the big thing from this, is that we got official release dates for all of these guys.
Yep. And then
plus, the big surprise announcement too was the Daredevil.
Yes.
Born Again, and then we're actually finally getting the Captain America 4 with Captain America New World Order with Sam
Exactly.
Wilson.
Exactly. And of course,
Sorry,
getting,
didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
yeah. And then of course, getting to be able to see that Phase 6 is leading up to the culmination of the 3 phases, being once again a back-to-back Avengers movie of the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, which we already kind of knew that Secret Wars was on the horizon because Secret Invasion was going to be one of the shows. For
Well, and
Plus.
when you saw all of the multiverse stuff too, it kind of made sense. Like if you know anything about the comics and you know anything about the merging of the multiverse or like the introduction of the multiverse, it's you had the 80s Secret Wars and you had the 2016 Secret Wars.
Yes, yeah, and I will say it's nice to. I mean, you and I talked about this before. It was nice to be able to see that.
And then we got Thunderbolts announced too.
Yes, but it was nice to be able to see that with this new take on the MCU, with the original Avengers team being broken up, the new superheroes being split up into their own groups, their own focuses, their own areas of galactic, international, and street level heroes. We now
little bit of supernatural sprinkled in there.
We can now see that the Avengers are being moved to where they are in the comics, which is an Avengers movie is a big event again, and it's not just it's the end of a phase.
Everything will lead up to.
Well, maybe we'll toss them 2 for this phase because we want to team up. It is a big movie event again, and it is going to feel hopefully a lot more impactful, which I like.
Yeah, it'll like you said, it will be a lead up, but it'll also be something where it's built up to, and with Kang being the confirmed finally big bad for this saga, which kind of sort of spoiler if you have not seen Loki season 1 or if you just haven't been paying attention to all the announcements from Marvel about what's happening with this phase of the MCU. But he'll be returning in Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania.
Yes.
He's the confirmed big bad for this saga, and it makes sense. But also, with the whole multiverse and time travel and everything, it makes total sense. But the big thing too is that you needed a threat this big to bring together a new Avengers team.
Yes, which was kind of nice because the problem that I think a lot of people were seeing after what we had with Infinity Wars and Endgame was that this next phase or phases of the MCU need to be something that was going to not feel small by comparison of the stakes for the first 3 phases of leading up to Thanos and the snapping, the blip, the whatever you want to call it, the eradication of half of all life in the universe. And that I think this really does set an interesting direction for all this.
Yes.
So I'm happy. And then of course, as part of this, we also got to see the official poster drop for She-Hulk, which is coming up here this month.
It's like 2 weeks basically.
Yeah, and a new trailer drop for that, which always great.
Which we may have been teased with another famous lawyer from the Marvel Universe possibly showing up in his.
Not possibly. We got that at the very end of the trailer.
It could be somebody else.
Like Bullseye.
Done it before.
No. But seriously though, honestly,
by the way, can I just say the best thing about that is the Daredevil Born Again is like 18 episodes, which means we'll basically have like 4 months of Daredevil.
Unless they break tradition and drop it all at once, rather than weekly releases. But I doubt they are going to break tradition for this.
Let them have 4 months of Daredevil.
No, I want 4 months of Daredevil. Are you kidding me?
Don't tease me like that. Don't tease me like them dropping it all at once.
But I will say though, honestly, I am extremely excited to see She-Hulk, only because I am such a massive Tatiana Maslany fan. I was obsessed with her acting in Orphan Black. The level of talent that you got to see from her in Orphan Black, playing so many different characters simultaneously, even at times, and you never, it never occurred to you unless you were looking for the tiniest nitpick that was not several different people that all happen to have the same face. She was fantastic. I'm excited, and I cannot wait to see her in She-Hulk.
Yeah, I didn't watch Orphan Black, so I'm, new to it.
We need to fix that because you would love it.
Yeah, but
It's
I mean,
right
but
up
I've
your
heard
alley.
you rave about her. I've heard really good things about her, so I'm really excited to see what she brings for that character. And it's a character I don't. Yeah. It's a character that I'm not too familiar with either. Like I know of her, but I don't really know a lot. So.
And then, of course, knowing that the main antagonist of the series, Titania, is Jamila Jamil, I think is going to be really great because she's fantastic, and the idea of seeing her opposite of Tatiana, just a lot of good things can come out of that. So, and then of course we also got the drop of the first official trailer and poster for Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever, which if you saw the trailer, I don't know about you, but I got a bit broken up watching it.
Yep.
But did you see what Marvel posted after the fact of the actual Hall H performance at the beginning of the panel?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amazing. And, as cool as it was to see that musical performance at the beginning that introduced Ryan Coogler. From what I've heard, everybody in attendance said that in person, that whole thing sent chills down the spines of everybody in that hall. Yeah. Seeing it, listening to it, it felt visceral if you were there in person. And I am all for that type of presentation because that's the kind of presentation we need for Comic-Con to make these feel special.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
That's great.
Yeah. You want it to be an event. You want it to be a spectacle. 100%.
Yes. I mean, hell, even the way that Kevin Feige introduced the performance, and then and Ryan Coogler with the whole, we talked about the past, we've talked about the future, now let's talk about forever, and the lights just drop. Yeah. That whole thing, just the spectacle that they are creating and that Kevin has been perfecting is amazing. But honestly, hearing Ryan Coogler talk, I could listen to that man talk about his work forever because he is just such a talent at speaking to the craft of movie making. Yeah, I love hearing him talk about it.
I'm going to be very interested to see what he does as a director.
Yes.
When he's done with making the Black Panther movies and making Marvel movies, because he absolutely knocked it out of the park with Creed. Fruitvale Station was amazing.
Oh yes.
This is going to be one of those, I am very interested to see where his career goes after this. Yeah. But also, he is putting his own touch and his own fingerprints on these movies. These aren't just your, generic beat 'em up, blow stuff up comic book movies. He understood, the reverence and the importance of the character and what it meant to, people that don't have the representation on the big screen of, the superhero community and what it could mean to those people that haven't seen those characters on the screen yet.
Yes.
That is somebody that completely and totally understood how important the movie that he was making was.
Well, even more seeing that the antagonist of this movie is going to be Namor, and getting that Latin American representation with the whole Aztec influence of, or is it Aztec or Mayan influence? Because I feel like
it looks
that.
Like, yeah. I mean, it looked like Mayan, and I think that they're changing it. If I remember right, he's not going to be from Atlantis. He's going to be from.
I thought it was still going to be Atlantis.
No, it's not going to be Atlantis. Okay. They changed it.
Well, just the whole appeal of that and the way that they're bringing that in to be more of that culture's representation, even though it is, for the, the whole Namor side of things, which is even more fanciful than Wakanda is. It still feels like this is the exact place to do that, to really bring that into the MCU and give it a jumping off point.
I just need to know if he's going to be a mutant or not, damn it. That's all I need to know.
I think a lot of people are just want to hear the M word one time.
Well, we kind of heard it.
We kind of heard it for Miss Marvel, I know, but semi-spoiler, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Take it from Aztec and a little bit of Mayan culture.
there we go. Got it.
I don't want to butcher I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but it's like Talokan, and it has some
Okay.
accents.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's been changed pronunciation, obviously.
Okay.
That is a underwater paradise that is talked about in Aztec culture. Now, there is a little bit of also Mayan influence.
So it's basically Atlantis, just from the perspective of.
Aztec.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So it's what they refer to Atlantis as, essentially. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
And then, of course,
hold on, real quick. So we also have to mention in, just want to point out in Black Panther, if you haven't seen it, Lupita did talked about how they left the call sheet #1 blank in honor of Chadwick, and how to point out that he was going to be there with them the entire time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they left #1 blank and then put, I think it was, oh gosh, what's her name? The Queen's name. That was #2.
Angel
Angel
I think
Bassett.
so.
yes.
But it was.
Which would make sense because, I mean, if you're going in order of just pure power,
Yeah.
Angela Bassett is.
Yeah.
So they left #1 blank for Chadwick, and I thought that was a great honor to kind of hear about.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So yes, I think we have drooled all over the MCU
Wait,
plenty.
no,
at this
no,
point.
no. No, there's one that we didn't.
Well,
I mean, we got Secret Invasion, we got
have
Loki
way too
season
much.
2.
We have way too much to cover. So if you did not see all of the
just-
announcements, look at it.
We have a
check it out.
release date.
Or say it. I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
We finally have a release date for the Fantastic Four. And D23 is only a couple months. No, it's actually next month.
Yes.
Okay. And there was a lot of stuff that wasn't announced for the Phase 6.
Yes. So there's still plenty that we're probably going to be getting
And if
from.
that movie's coming out in 2 years, theoretically they probably need to announce a cast, director,
we are
writers, all of
we are
that.
way behind on this one now. So look, if you did not catch all the MCU announcements from San Diego Comic-Con, go check it out.
We almost
Although
had the
I can
Fantastic
guarantee,
Four.
even if you have not gotten caught up, if you just wait till D23, which is Disney's big convention where they do all their announcements, which is usually Star Wars and Marvel heavy, you will be getting
I
even
think it's
more. So
September
you're
9th
fine.
through 11th, if I
You're
remember
fine.
right. Brad,
But
the Fantastic Four has a release date.
I get it. But like we have.
Oh, I mean, I'm done talking. You can keep going.
Comics had so many announcements for actual comic announcements and comic adjacent announcements or releases that bullets alone, when I was making notes, was 5.5 pages. So we have a lot to get through, and we are running short on time. So let's jump into the other big bit of movie news, which was Warner Brothers had
Not really having
almost
news.
no representation at Comic-Con. They had a panel for Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and they had a panel for Black Adam.
And we got the trailer
And that-
for Shazam.
And Black Adam. But that was it. They had nothing else. They didn't have a booth. They didn't have any other major announcements. They did nothing. Which,
Well-
if you've been paying attention to what's been going on with since the was it HBO and Discovery merger and what's happening with Warner Brothers properties and DC and the cancellations of some movies or shelving of some or whatever. There are other reasons to be concerned about what's happening with Warner Brothers right now,
Well,
but we
here's-
are not. We'll get into that on another show.
Well, here's what's really concerning about that is, so we have Shazam, which is this year.
Yes.
We have Black Adam, which is early next year.
Sure.
We were supposed to have Batgirl, but that just got canceled. What's coming? Flash is basically going to be put on hold indefinitely because Ezra Miller's putting off Chernobyl levels of radiation right now.
Uh-huh.
But the rumor was that Flash was supposed to be Flashpoint, that was supposed to kind of be the soft reset for the DCEU.
So I've been hearing a lot of different hot takes on what's happening with the DCEU, and just for the sake of brevity, I'm going to go ahead and say I actually agree with one of the increasingly more prominent takes, which is enough with the soft reboots. Look, I know that Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is fantastic. Jason Momoa as Aquaman is fantastic. We even Zachary Levi as Shazam has
Oh
been
yeah,
fantastic.
Shazam.
However,
First one was a lot of fun.
However, whether you want to keep those actors or not, I don't care. But these soft reboot ideas have been tried and tried and tried. We've been trying this for a decade now.
Well,
Give it a hard reboot, just restart it, and if you want to keep some of the actors and just say, look, all the past movies don't count anymore, this is number one, that's fine, but enough with the soft reboots. Just give it a hard reboot, give us a fresh start, and just enough.
Well, and here's the other
Give us something that we can actually enjoy.
Here's the other problem with that is you have movies that have been announced. You have Aquaman 2 that's apparently in post-production right now. That's supposed to come out sometime next
Will
year.
it though?
Exactly.
So, and that's really the problem. So we will be diving into the absolute garbage fire that is Warner Brothers and the DC movies.
I was going to say shit show, but I mean, if you want to say dumpster fire.
family show.
Oh, that's true.
And public. So we're going to get into that in another show. That's going to be a whole different thing, especially after we get hopefully more information about what's happening with the whole HBO Discovery thing. So very, very, very quickly, we had a ton of streaming announcements.
Yes.
So for Disney Plus, we had the announcement that we're going to get a National Treasure TV show. We know there's going to be a National Treasure movie for number 3, but now we also know there's going to be a TV show, Edge of History, which we got a behind-the-scenes look at, and we are already expecting a full trailer
a 20-second teaser.
Yeah, we're expecting a full trailer from them at D23. I think it's an interesting idea.
Well,
I'm okay with it.
I think the big thing is that it's a continuation of the first two.
Yes, which I like.
So this exists in that universe.
Yes.
It's been a while since we've seen those characters, but here's a new generation of treasure hunters that are, basically coming into this universe. And if they can tie it into the previous movies, or if they can tie it into a third movie or whatever, then I'm all for it.
We also
you know how much I love
yes.
the National Treasure.
Oh no, I'm all for.
Every July 4th.
I mean, look, I am.
What's more July 4th than Nick Cage stealing the Declaration of Independence to find a treasure hidden?
Will Smith save the world?
I mean, she's got a point there.
Yeah, but then he went and slapped a comedian that couldn't defend himself. So.
Couldn't he though?
And then he died in between.
Couldn't he though?
Perfectly American is it?
And then his character was killed off screen before the sequel.
Okay, we are getting way off track. We also got a trailer for I Am Groot, which looks like a fun little thing, a fun little anthology series. Which I love the description that I saw somewhere online, which was I Am Groot looks like the Marvel version of the little Pikachu shorts at the beginning of all the Pokemon movies.
I can see that.
I like that idea, and if that is actually what this I Am Groot thing ends up turning into, I'm all for it. So
I can see that.
It looks like fun. Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, we didn't really get much out of it other than a poster and
the fact that we're getting
ideas.
a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
It's cool. It looks interesting, at least as far as what the poster art shows for the animation style. It looks like it could be fun.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're going to get more about it from D23 once again.
Makes sense.
So and of course we got the first screenshot from X-Men 97, which is a continuation of the 90s X-Men cartoon.
It is a direct continuation.
Like literally immediately after the last episode.
Right.
So I think that's gonna be cool. It looks like it could be fun, and of course, once again, D23, we're waiting for more.
Couple things, just real quick.
Yes.
Liza hanging out with us. Don't want to say hi to Liza. Okay?
No.
Oh, hello, Liza.
Liza agrees that she would also like more Daredevil, and she was wondering, first will it also star Nick Cage? Did some looking, and it does say that Edge of History will reboot the series of the same name and will be starring Nicolas Cage. So I am excited.
Yeah, sure.
Can't get too crazy with that. So plus Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage, his Nicolas Cage is Cageiest. So
True.
Did you see his new movie?
Not yet. I'm watching so mad.
It looks like about as meta Nick Cage as you can get, and I'm all for it. So,
But yeah, no, X-Men 97,
Yes.
same animation style, direct continuation. It should be a lot of fun.
yeah, Amazon Prime, we got another longer trailer for the new Lord of the Rings Ring of
Ring of
Power
Power,
series, which I know there's a lot of controversy about, this or that or whatever.
My big question
female dwarves not having beards. I'm not getting into that one. Look,
how specious of you, Brad.
I'm just gonna say this. As far as the aesthetic, having issues on where? Let's go ahead and see if we can. Which is funny. Oh, well, that might have something to do with the fact that, somehow I pressed a button on the switcher.
Damn it, Brad.
So we still had audio.
Yeah,
I don't know how I didn't even reach over to push a button.
So,
Anyway,
to interrupt you really quick, 2 things from Ring
yes.
of Power. One, supposed to be set basically the creation of the Rings of Power, correct?
Yes, this is pre-Hobbit, pre-Silmarillion.
Yeah.
This is the creation of the rings from the legends, and
And of course the Ring of Power. Obviously.
Yeah, right after the first Great War with Sauron.
Right.
Before the Great War.
Now, my next question.
Yes.
Do you think the Tolkien estate will hate this more or less than the Hobbit trilogy?
I think less, only because this is not directly based on one of the books. So I think they will.
Is it not? Does this not take from the Silmarillion or?
No.
I've never read because I never read the Silmarillion. I read
it
Lord
looks
of the
like
Rings.
it's going to have details from the Silmarillion, but look, the Silmarillion is such a loaded topic to go into. We'll talk about it off the show. Just understand, it's not this.
Okay.
It talks about certain bits, but it's not this.
Okay.
Basically, what you need to know is, because this is not directly based on any of the books, it's based on the ideas of the books. I think the Tolkien estate's probably going to take umbrage with the aesthetic and the level of violence, but I think that's it. I do not think they're going to have a problem with what happens as far as the story.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unlike The Hobbit, where that was just a mess, and I think everybody, even
What, you mean turning a short story into 3.5 hour movies wasn't a good idea?
I think everybody involved, even the studio, and the studio never admits that they're wrong, but I think even the studio could admit that was a bad idea. Like, no. But with that, Netflix had a few announcements. Berserker, starring Keanu Reeves, is going to be a new, was it anime or animation? I'm trying to remember.
I think it's an anime.
Anime,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Berserker. That's anime, right? I know I may be about to lose my weeb card on this one, but there's just
what card?
Weeb. You can tell me to hit the censor button anytime, You know exactly what it is.
Yeah, I'd say it's anime.
Okay, anime, cool. There we go. So yeah, and then of course, last and final trailer.
Yeah, but it's also
Are you fixated on
yes, he is.
yeah, but anime also.
worrying about this?
Anyway, we got the last trailer for Sandman. Which
Yes.
have you started watching Sandman yet?
No.
I've already gotten through episode 1.
How many episodes? Good talk. Okay.
I don't remember, but all I will say is the first episode.
Is it as trippy as the trailer made it out to be?
Oh, so much.
Because I don't really know too much about the comic. I just know that it's a very trippy.
I have not read the comic. I know about it, and I know the general idea behind it.
Okay.
10 episodes now.
There we go.
Okay.
So that's all it's going to be, though. 10 episodes. First episode was very, very trippy. Although, here's the thing. Sandman is not like an action-packed story. It has moments of action.
Is it more psychological?
Yes.
More, okay.
It is very like psychological, very supernatural, thrillery, with a heavy dose of acid trip.
Okay.
And I will say I loved the first episode. It was a nice slow-paced thing that really gave you time to ruminate in the world that
Kind
it
of
was going.
digest what was going on.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And if every episode is like that, with a nice slow but even pace with just a ton of story and plot in it, I think it's going to be a great show.
Okay.
I have no idea how representative of the original graphic novel it is, but I'm sure the internet is going to tell us very soon. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't take long.
And then, of course, for all the Dragon Prince fans out there, which...
There's,
Yes.
pulling it up, there's already an article posted 6 hours ago. 5 ways Netflix's The Sandman is different from the comics.
Of course.
Yeah, and then of course, if you are a Dragon Prince fan, which is a more CGI-based anime that is on Netflix, season 4 got its trailer at Comic-Con, so that's the thing. But otherwise, yeah, Paramount Plus got a new trailer for Picard season 3, trailer for the Lower Decks season 3, I think, as well.
That sounds right.
And then the Teen Wolf movie trailer, which I guess we need a Teen Wolf movie. Cool.
Do we?
Always need Team Wolf.
I guess. HBO Max gave a new trailer for Game of Thrones House of the Dragon, which I'm interested in. I'm not going to hold my breath only because I was one of the people disappointed with the last season, but I'm going to go back and check out I'm going to go back and check out this just to see. Hulu got a new show dropped called Little Demon, which has Danny DeVito as Satan, and it is about the spawn of Satan, which is going to be interesting. I'm sure that's not going to have any controversy at all.
Yeah, the reboot of Interview with the Vampire that AMC is doing.
AMC/AMC Plus.
Right.
And then, of course, Season 3 is going to be on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
So, cool. Walking Dead. We do not have time for this now, so Mike, you can do your rant about The Walking Dead later.
It needs to be taken out back and put down.
Seriously.
About all I got.
Now...
No, those still have somewhat moderate return on investment in terms of entertainment. Walking Dead stopped being good like midway through season 2.
Fast and Furious has explosions. There's always entertainment in explosions. There's a reason why Michael Bay is still paid as high as he is.
There's a reason why Michael Bay doesn't have this
Doesn't have what?
substance.
What are you talking about? Ambulance was actually really good.
He hasn't had a lot of substance in his career, so don't give him that much credit. But, okay, so
he made Pearl Harbor.
Let's go ahead and jump into the comic book announcements because we have got to rush through this because we are so far behind.
Right.
We are now 43 minutes. Oh my gosh. We are way behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so comics. Here we go. To dive into it, we have from DC Comics, the big event, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I mean, it had already started before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we already had the episode 0 or issue 0, along with the prelude to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and the first couple issues.
It was originally just Dark Crisis, and then they revealed. I think that they revealed at Comic-Con that it was
Yes.
actually Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay, yeah, you are correct.
I'm always correct. Come on.
And there have already been several tie-ins that have been released, and so far I will say that the storyline for the comics has been interesting, but like with any of the major crossovers, especially the Infinite Earths crossovers, it's already getting chaotic. And
Shocker.
I don't know how many people are going to be happy with this, only because DC's big crossovers are hard enough to keep up with at the best of times.
They can be.
Yeah, at the best of
definitely
times,
can be.
because they have a lot of moving parts, but the Infinite Earths specifically is always
Well,
just
I
a
think
mess.
the big controversy was spoilers for anybody that's not keeping up, is that the Justice League gets killed off in episode 1 or issue 1, I should say.
Yes.
But that actually tied into all of the individual books that were going on
Yes.
that the individual writers didn't know about. So they were basically like, hey, whatever you guys are working on, y'all need to wrap it up because something big's coming and we can't tell you what.
Yeah. Now, I will say...
So that created a lot more confusion and chaos than needed to be.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to tip their hand, so, like, I kind of get it.
And I will say the fact that they're bringing back from the last big crossover, the Dark Universe, from the Death Metal, the Batman Death Metal crossover event, and Bringing that whole idea back, although it feels like maybe they're setting up so like there's a consciousness to the darkness behind the dark universe, which I'm not quite caught up enough to be aware of what's happening with that or not, but it's getting weird already. And they brought back in issue 1 Pariah, who was a central figure for the original Infinite Earths sagas, and that was already
Which is the Crisis saga.
Yeah.
Because it was Crisis on Infinite Earths, then the sequel was Final Crisis, or Infinite Crisis, then Final Crisis.
Yes, which was already a thing.
Yes.
So, bringing him back, since it is Infinite Earths, okay, fine, you got to, but it already feels weird how they're incorporating him, so I don't know what to think.
And also, this was... also in this is... But also, this was like kind of billed as also like you're killing off the Justice League, and they kind of had like in issue 0, and then in other issues they had like essentially allusions to the future where there is no Justice League, and like the next generation of heroes has to step up and kind of take on that mantle and everything like that. So now you have like John Kent, Superman. You had, I think if I remember right, I think it was Damian that took up as Batman, no, it's who is it? It's Lucius Fox's son.
Yes.
Yeah. But so you had all these moving parts where it was supposed to introduce kind of like the next generation of all these heroes and everything like that. But now, like with the teasing that the Justice League may still be alive, just trapped out in the infinite universes and everything, like
I don't know. Like
I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I'm too worried that there's going to be too many moving parts and you're going to get lost in the weeds.
Yeah. We got the announcement that there's going to be a Swamp Thing tie-in, which cool. And then of course the announcement of Warzone, which is going to be a mini-series within the Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths event, which is focused on Linda Park and Iris West, who is Barry Allen and Wally West's wives, because right at the end of, I think it was issue 2, spoiler, although technically not, because it was set up before the event.
Wally basically goes into...
Well, no, Linda Park was revealed to have started to exhibit powers of the Speed Force. And so that's where it looks like Warzone is going to be picking up, where Linda Park has powers, and I think... Does Iris have powers at this point? I cannot remember it, honestly. But they're going to be going off and doing their own adventures, and it's going to be a whole thing.
And you've also got Wally's running through the infinite universes right now looking for Barry. Yeah. Because Barry disappeared before issue 0.
Yes, because he was off dealing with stuff from Earth 0, and that's all. Yeah. There's a lot that's been going on with the DC universe in the comics. If you have not gotten caught up on the comics, this is not the best time to try to get caught up. Although if you want to put the effort in, feel free. Once again, we are at Madness Games and Comics here in Plano. They have a wonderful opportunity to be able to go and catch up on all of the stories up until now.
Yeah, this might be one of those. Maybe wait for the trade.
Well, no, I would say so. The one good thing about this being an Infinite Earths crossover event is that after each of the major Infinite Earths events, or the Crisis events,
it's usually
what happens after is a reset, which means if you're a new reader, perfect time to get in on the comics. So I think
after it's ended.
Yeah, after it ends. So I think as good as this is going to be for the fans, what happens after with whatever reset comes later is going to be great for all the people that want to get into DC Comics that didn't really have the opportunity to get caught up on the stories. It's going to be the best time to do that then. Yeah. But up until then, I think this is strictly for the hardcore fans who've been keeping up so far.
Right.
So that's fine.
I mean, the next thing that DC announced, they've got the Batman Spawn crossover.
Which, cool.
Yeah.
It's Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo back together, which I think is fantastic. At least we know it's going to be a fun story.
I was about to say, it's two characters that should play very well off of each other, especially with McFarlane and Capullo.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Haven't they done a crossover before?
I think they did back in the 90s? Yeah. It's like the mid-90s, if I remember right.
But... yeah. So, and then of course, Paul Dano is coming in to write Riddler Year 1, which
I think it's supposed to be a 5-issue or 6-issue.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, I think, which I think is fantastic. Paul Dano has already proven himself to be a great writer and director for movies. I don't know if he's written anything else like book or comic wise, but thank you. But I'm all for it because I like his stuff, and especially after, from what I've heard, because I've still not seen The Batman yet.
Fantastic.
I've heard he was fantastic as the Riddler in that, so seeing him
That kind of makes sense
write,
for him. Yeah, I was about to say, kind of makes sense for him to be the one to do it.
Great. And then, of course, we got the announcement for the new Champion of Shazam, which, okay, cool. Didn't get a lot of information about it, other than there's going to be a new person involved with Shazam.
So I guess it's not going to be Billy Batson anymore.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. But we'll see.
So now on to the
Marvel.
the big stuff, the heavy hitters, Marvel. Now this is where
Not that DC's not a heavy hitter.
but as far as announcements this year,
Yeah.
Marvel was half of the mile-long list of announcements.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started on this one. The first of which was the resurrection of Extreme X-Men from who?
The man, the myth, the legend, the god himself, the man whose feet we should worship at.
Name is
Chris Claremont
There
is
you
coming back
go.
to the X-Men.
Yes.
After, was Extreme the last thing he did with X-Men?
Feel like? Well, no. I feel like there's one other thing that he did.
Was there? Because Extreme, I think, ended in the early 2000s.
Yeah. Either way, so Chris Claremont, if you're not familiar with the name, is the man who essentially created
you are
Marvel's 90s aesthetic.
If you are not familiar with the name Chris Claremont, give yourself 50 Hail Marys and 50 Our Fathers right now.
Basically, if you remember the 90s version of superheroes that were like more muscles than is physically possible on a person, and just more explosions and bright colors and just massive contrast of your dark lines and inks and everything, and just like that bold, poppy, like over the top aesthetic from the 90s, that was Chris Claremont. He set the tone for so much of superhero media back then.
I will do you one even better, Brad. Pretty much everything. Well, Days of Future Past. You know what that is?
The only thing I can find out from Orlando for writing is that it's not on Scrapnic.
Fair enough.
Like, that's the only thing I can find.
So, okay.
Do you know what Days of Future Past is? Yes or no?
Other than amazing?
Yeah. Thank Chris Claremont.
Yes.
You know what the Dark Phoenix saga is?
Yes.
Thank Chris Claremont.
Yes.
Kitty Pryde being a relevant and powerful character? Thank Chris Claremont. Basically,
He's talking about comics, not the movies.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because the movies still haven't gotten to do anything with Kitty Pryde yet that's worthwhile.
And they keep
or
screwing up the Phoenix storyline.
Dark Phoenix.
That's what I'm
Shockingly.
referring to is like the movies are not giving justice
No.
to these stories.
Not even remotely.
Basically, after Stan Lee left the X-Men, you have Chris Claremont to thank for pretty much some of the
great.
most, not just everything great, but also some of the like most revered and absolutely loved storylines in the history of that entire book.
Yes. No, without question.
Yeah.
Chris Claremont is incredible, and seeing him come back to the X-Men,
Yes.
because I know he hasn't touched the X-Men since.
I think it's been extreme, and I think that
but
was like
I
the
feel
early
like
2000s.
he's done something else for Marvel since then, just not X-Men.
Yeah, but this
we'll,
is yeah, but this is
we'll put it down in the comments. If,
yeah, but this is
yeah.
basically it's a direct continuation. It's going to be only a 5-issue run. So I mean, it from what I can't remember exactly, but I think they had finished their run on Extreme, and they wanted to go back and revisit it sooner, but it just never manifested. So now he's actually got the opportunity. I can't wait.
And then to jump into the next big Marvel crossover event, which
Judgment Day.
is Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals Judgment Day. And this is so Marvel actually does their crossover events pretty well, but especially when it comes to the team versus team head-to-head battles, they do those very, very well. And this looks interesting because they are going in and they are kind of pitting all of the Marvel Universe against each other, but framing it so that the Eternals are set up to be the bad guys, at least initially, and X-Men and Avengers are against them, but also each other, whilst trying to stop other people.
So a really quick. So this all spins out of Jonathan Hickman's run on X-Men.
Yes.
That started with House of X and House of 10, I think was. Or Powers of 10,
Powers
I think.
10.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, when Jonathan Hickman took over, essentially, just a quick recap, essentially the X-Men founded the mutant nation of Krakoa.
Yep.
So they are now their own. They are their own nation. They are recognized sovereignty by the United Nations. Like, they finally have what they've wanted, which is to be recognized, and but with that also came the ability that they can now essentially clone themselves. So if at any point they die, they basically just get reborn.
And put their consciousness
back
into
into
their body.
right. It's
also, they have a
created-
colony on Mars.
Yes. Well, that's a little bit, yeah.
Because it's a thing.
But so that's just kind of a little bit of what's been going on. That royally pisses off the Eternals because basically they look at it as something that's unnatural and you shouldn't be able to do something like that. And at the behest of the Celestials, the Eternals basically go out to fix that affront to the universe, essentially. And like you have mentioned there in the in our little notes there may or may not have been a little bit of a mutant genocide on Arakko, which is the island, or which is the mutant nation on Mars.
And then, of course, there's the whole issue with Iron Man, Ajax, is it Makari?
Yeah.
And Mr. Sinister all teaming up to build a new Celestial, which seems like a very interesting combination of characters, as well as just a very interesting and not so great thing to do within the universe.
Yeah, but the best thing coming out of this was you actually saw like a tonal shift in some of the characters. So like Xavier ended up, when Jonathan Hickman took over, Xavier sided with Magneto.
Yes.
And was basically like, look, we fought for you, we've always wanted this, now we're just going to take it and you're going to recognize that we're basically a sovereign nation. If you keep screwing with us, things are really going to get bad.
Yeah. And then, of course, let's not forget that we actually got the more or less full release schedule for the mainline and tie-ins for Judgment Day.
Yep.
Which is really great because it's not just there's going to be a new release once a week or once a month. It is, here's everything, which is kind of unique for a lot of these crossover events. You don't usually get this clear of a vision for release schedules, at least like this.
Dude, I'm just really excited because at the end of, I think it was X-Men Red 4, it shows from the X-Men perspective the genocide on Arakko, and Magneto basically gets a hole put in his chest. Now, the thing with that is that basically like the hierarchy now is that if you were on, I can't remember what it's called, but if you ascend to this hierarchy, you give up your ability to be reborn. So anybody that is in this circle, which includes Storm, Magneto, and I think one or two other prominent X-Men characters, if they die, they're gone forever.
Yeah.
There's no basically way to revive them. So now Magneto just watched another haven of his that was supposed to be made for mutant safety get destroyed. And they basically teased that Magneto's about to just go commit eternal genocide.
Which is pretty par for the course.
So
for
like
Magneto,
we're going back to like late 80s, early 90s Magneto.
Fair. Okay. And then of course, we after both of those, we get to jump over to Spider-Man, which had so many announcements. The first of which was actually one that I think you and I were both very excited to see, which was the announcement of Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt, which brings back Kraven the Hunter, and is
such an underrated character.
Oh yeah, no, and
such an underutilized character.
Is going to be a very interesting 5-issue limited series, and this is as the synopsis says, as Peter Parker and Mary Jane prepare for their new lives in Portland, a man from Kraven's past stalks them. Who is the mystery man, and what does he want with Spider-Man? Find out when we return to the time period after Spider-Man, the final adventure, when when Peter Parker was powerless. Which, I mean, that feels like a pretty solid setup.
Yeah, that's one that I'm really excited to see. I'm also really excited to see what Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man ends up being.
Yes,
it looks like a more horror-centric.
Oh, definitely horror-centric.
Basically based around the Demon Bear. Anybody read the New Mutants? Thank Chris Claremont again.
Yes.
And how that character ties into the Marvel Universe in a greater sense. That looks like it's going to be the main antagonist for this one. And whenever the Demon Bear is involved, it's very horror-centric, very psychological. So that's going to be one that's going to be really interesting to see what they do.
Yes, and then of course, jumping over to the Spider-Verse, which has so many things happening for that, we get to start off with Edge of the Spider-Verse, which starts off by introducing Spider-Rex, which is actually exactly what it
do
sounds
we need
like.
to say anything other than Spider Rex?
It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a dinosaur Spider-Man, a T-Rex Spider-Man, and Marvel's already announced that on their family-friendly streaming service on their website, where they put out little animated shorts, there is going to be a family-friendly Spider-Rex mini-series that they're going to be posting on there. So go to Marvel.com to check that out if you want to see the adventures of Spider-Rex.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, our next is going to be exciting.
No kidding.
I will say the one thing I was upset about, I want Spider-Man back. Do you want Spider-Man?
I do, and I think Spider-Man is amazing, and I think it was one of the best additions to the Spider-Verse we had.
You keep giving me Spider-Verse. I want Spider-Man. Please.
Well, unfortunately, you probably
Well, we got
shouldn't get...
Spider-Ham instead,
Yeah,
so...
you probably shouldn't stay too attached to the Spider-Verse for much longer.
Yes, which leads us into the next bit, which is the end of the Spider-Verse.
Which is the perfect time to at least subtly introduce her.
Sure.
Yes. So, Into the Spider-Verse starts with Spider-Man issue 1, because they're restarting the numbering again for like the 500th, 5,000th time.
That is
something
one
like.
thing that
Are you
just,
new to the comic book world?
that's one thing that bugs the absolute
Yeah,
hell
well,
out of me.
Spider-Man especially, it feels like they've restarted their numbering so many times.
Yeah.
It kills me, because as a Spider-Man fan, it's so hard to keep track of numbering with him. Now, granted, Marvel's one of the worst offenders in general, but like, but yeah, so this brings back Morlin as the main antagonist for this, and if you've been read any of the previous Spider-Verse stories, you'll know who Morlin is. Otherwise, just trust us, not a good guy. And this is going to be very interesting,
bit of
because
bad
this is going to be bringing in Norman Osborn as a good guy, apparently,
Ish.
or the transition him becoming a good-ish guy, which is gonna start on October 5th, and this is all gonna be leading up to the post Into the Spider-Verse crossover event with the X-Men,
Yep.
which. Okay, we're going for another X-Men crossover after
possibly
the
what
X-Men verse.
I was about to say possibly with what's left of the X-Men after
Yeah.
Judgment Day.
So after Judgment Day, after Into the Spider-Verse, we combine those to get the Dark Web Saga, which is going to start in November with their preludes. So that's going to be, it's going to start with Spider-Man issue 13, which is the birth of the Gold Goblin, which is Norman Osborn's new alias, because the Green Goblin's his villain name, but he didn't want to get rid of the Goblin nomenclature.
Because when I think of
Goblin, I guess.
heroes, I think of goblins.
I guess. So we're gonna have the birth of the Gold Goblin in Spider-Man number 13,
Yep.
and then the Amazing Spider-Man number 14. We get to reintroduce Ben Reilly's character of Chasm, and introduce a character that's supposed to be a pivotal character for
Say
the
that 5
events
times
of
fast,
for the events of Dark Web, which is Hollow's Eve, who, as you can see on screen, is the character on the far right. No idea who she is going to be, just that apparently she's going to be somebody important.
Yep.
And yeah, then from there we're going to have Gold Goblin number 1, because I guess Gold Goblin is getting his own little series, mini-series, whatever.
Right.
And then Venom number 13 is going to be part of the Dark Web prelude, all culminating in December with Dark Web Alpha number 1.
Oh, Madeline Pryor. That's how the X-Men.
Yeah,
tie
which is
into it.
where the
Okay.
two main clones from the Marvel universe, as far as bad clones go, Ben Reilly, aka Chasm, and Madeline Pryor, aka the Goblin Queen, are going to team up and give all kinds of chaos for everybody, because they're mad. So, Dark
Yeah.
Web. This is...
I mean, wouldn't you be mad if you were an inferior clone, Brad? Wouldn't you be mad?
I think Madeline Pryor would take inferior clone to be a bit of an insult, but okay. Cool.
Why would she take that as an insult?
She takes everything as the insult.
Well, that's
Ben Reilly just takes his whole existence as an insult, so that's a whole different issue. But yeah, so Dark Web is going to be Seems like it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, as part of the
Yeah.
Dark Web deal, Dan Slott is actually leaving the Fantastic Four to write for Spider-Man, specifically starting with the Dark Web
Yep.
Saga. So that's going to be interesting to
Which
see
means-
how his talent gets brought
I'm
into
trying to remember.
this.
Did they announce the new creative team for
They
Fantastic
did not.
Four?
They gave a general premise on kind of what's happening with Fantastic Four.
Okay.
That they're going coastal. Didn't elaborate on
Right.
that, but it's going to be a
Yeah,
thing,
because Dan
apparently.
Slott's been on Fantastic Four for what, 3 or 4 years now?
A while, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all happening there, and then to give the very, 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 very fast rundown of the rest of Marvel's lineup, Captain America, where you're going to have 3 series.
Well, we're gonna read 2 individuals and then 1.
Yeah, so we have the individual for Sam Wilson, Captain America, which is Symbol of Truth. We have the individual for Steve Rogers, Captain America, which is Sentinel of Liberty.
Right.
And then we have the team-up of the 2 of them for Captain America Cold War.
Right.
What any of that is going to be based on or what the stories are going to be about, no idea. That's all we got for that. Then we got the big announcement that Doctor Strange is going to be having some big goings on with his main comic being Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise, which is going to be a 4-issue limited series by Trad Moore, who's going to be writer and artist. And if you saw, I don't know if you got a chance to see the initial concept art for it, it's very stained glass windowy, kind of acid trippy style art, which I think is going to be very intriguing for Doctor Strange, because it's this whole idea that Doctor Strange wakes up in just randomly in this distant world alone, doesn't know what's happening, doesn't know what he's supposed to do, and he just wanders. And if you're going to start base Doctor Strange in some far off alternate universe with nobody else, just all these foreign creatures and planets, whatever, then if you're going to go for the super colorful, super trippy art style, I think that is fantastic, and I'm all for it. And then, of course, Strange Academy, which had a bit of a rough start, where it came out back in, I believe it was 2020, and then
Sounds
took
right.
a bit of a break after a couple episodes in 2021, and then it had a couple, like 1 issue I think this year, and now is coming back full-fledged later this year with Strange Academy Finals, which is basically about the up-and-coming proteges of the Sorcerer Supreme, who are in school, as the name implies, and it's going to be something. From what I understand, it's a series that didn't have a massive following at the start, but did have a pretty devoted set of fans, enough so that they are continuing on, and we're going to see what happens. Okay.
You mentioned creative team for
Fantastic Four.
Yes.
There is a rumor, so there was a teaser that was released with a compass.
Compass, and it's like east and west,
Yeah,
right?
it's pointing east and west, but underneath the north is the word writer, and underneath south is the word artist. So some people are thinking that there is a comic artist, or comic writer, named Ryan North, that may be coming in. He's also the one who did Squirrel Girl in 2015 to 2019. But I haven't been able to find an artist with the name South in it, but
Fair.
so it could just be, not necessarily, it could be like his name has something to do, like, it could be like Southernland, or it could be something like in reference to the South. So, but some people are speculating.
Okay, that's fair. And then, of course, what I actually was really intrigued by, and I really want to check out issue 1 on this, Test Kitchen, which is a very, looks like it's going to be a very family-friendly-esque, looks like, didn't really get confirmation if it is, but it looks like it's going to be a family-friendly-esque comic about Anna, I know I'm going to butcher this last name, Anna Amayama? Yeah.
Way to stick the landing there, Brian.
High-end chef. I did say I was going to butcher it.
Yeah, there you go.
High-end chef who decides to take her shot with a food truck, but Iron Man accidentally crashes into the food truck, and as compensation, she gets hired by Stark Enterprises as their new chef in their test kitchen. And so it's a food comic in Marvel. I think that's going to be fun.
Okay.
Sorry, I just found something else. So it could be.
There's also, so Ryan North could be working with Matthew Southworth with,
So yeah, I I think the art style from this looks like it's going to be really fun. It has a very squirrel girl aesthetic.
Yeah.
So I'm for it.
Yeah.
So you say food comic, right?
What sort of food comic we talking? Like, are we talking like Food Wars?
They didn't give a lot of. They did not give a lot of details, but it did look like it was supposed to be primarily focused around the creation of food and possibly having recipes in there. Don't know.
Son of a gun, I'm in.
That's why I'm for it. Then of course we have
Morty. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Trying to avoid that word.
Oh, whatever.
So then we have the release of Tiger Division, which had a little bit of a premiere in, I think it was some other team up before, but now they're getting their own 5-issue limited series,
Right.
Which is South Korea's fiercest defenders, as they're framed,
Right.
from the writer of Emily Silk, or Emily Kim, which who wrote Silk, and drawn by Chris Lee, who came from Marvel's Voices Identity. So if you're familiar with that kind of art style, but overall seems like a very interesting team up for the creative team. And the team that we're gonna have for Tiger Division is White Fox is the leader, with Luna Snow, who, if you do not know, is a cryokinetic pop superstar.
Oh, so like Dazzler.
Kind of, from what I understand. I'm not as familiar, so sure. Tayaguchi, I think is how you pronounce that, who's a patriotic powerhouse with a heart of gold. Lady Bright, a card-wielding and mysterious sorceress.
Girl Gambit, okay. I'm just being a smart ass.
Mr. Enigma, a street-brawling demigod. The General, a living totem. And Gun R2.
Electric Boogaloo?
An android with an attitude.
Yeah.
So, looks like it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
And then, of course, we have the introduction of a new variant cover program that's going to have 2 phases. The first one's going to be for December, which is where they bring in artist Peach Momoko, and she's going to be coming in and doing a whole series of variant covers for Daredevil number 6, Immortal X-Men number 9, Avengers number 63, Captain America number 44, and apparently a whole lot of others. I actually think her art style is very intriguing, but what's really interesting is she's just doing that for December. Come January of next year, that's when they're going to be starting an homage variant cover program, where they're going to go back and reimagine iconic covers from Marvel history, and they're going to re-release those issues with these new variant covers. And what they announced as far as the initial crop of variant covers, we're going to get Black Panther number 13 with an homage cover by Paco Medina. We're going to have Hulk number 13, whose cover is going to be done by Steve McNiven. Immortal X-Men number 10, who's going to be done by Lionel Francis Yu. Thor number 31 is going to be by Mahmoud Asrar. I am terribly sorry if I'm butchering these names. And Wolverine number 29 is going to be done by Adi Granov. Seriously, my caffeine is showing. So that's what's happening with Marvel. A whole lot of stuff, and honestly, what's happening with their art releases, and that's just the direct comic releases.
Right.
They also had a whole slew of announcements for their comic adjacent releases and comic issue re-releases and other things that are happening that I am so excited for.
Yep.
And honestly, I think this is going to be a fantastic year for Marvel Comics.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a little long on time. So how do we want to handle this next part?
Gonna rush through and just try to hit this as quick as I can.
Go.
I know we promised we weren't gonna run over, but yes, we are. Going over to the non-DC and Marvel publishers. We're going to jump over to IDW, who is the 4th largest comic book publisher behind DC, Marvel, and Icon. IDW is basically, if you have a media property that has been made into a comic book, chances are IDW has the rights to them, because they have the rights to most of them.
Yeah.
And what matters to us today is going to be the fact that they own Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they own Sonic the Hedgehog, and they owned Power Rangers. Which is just amazing, and honestly, the writing that they've been doing with these series has been fantastic. But we're going to start off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, there's been a very touch-and-go history with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book history over the years, but what IDW has done with them has basically taken an amalgamation of the Ninja Turtles that we've known from the various cartoon iterations and live-action iterations, blended that together with the original, like, black and white comics for Ninja Turtles, put that all together and create a story with the Ninja Turtles that is meant for those of us who grew up watching Ninja Turtles back in the late 80s, early 90s, and wants to go back and reconnect with the Turtles today as adults. So this is very much not a kid-friendly Ninja Turtles series.
Yeah.
You can show some of it to kids. I wouldn't recommend it if your kids are on the younger side, because there is a bit of blood and violence. But
well,
otherwise,
especially with the big Turtles event that we just had this past year.
So there have been a couple things that had a lot of, like the Krang War, which was the first major thing that happened with that. So much violence and blood. But like if you have like a middle school age kid, I'd say go for it. But for like us and millennials, these are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stories that are meant for the millennial audience, without question.
Yep.
And what we got this last year was The Last Ronin.
There you go.
Which, thanks to Comic-Con, we got the announcement of
The Lost Years.
The Lost Years for The Last Ronin. And so what you're seeing on screen right now, the far left is the official cover, and the other two are the two variant covers, the right of which is maybe the most heartbreaking of the variant covers if you read The Last Ronin. So the 5-second TLDR of Last Ronin is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wanted to do Logan. You know, the post-apocalyptic story, except they one-upped Logan. Because Logan...
Old Man Logan, but yeah.
Or Old Man Logan. So they one-upped Old Man Logan because Old Man Logan took the cynical, violent character from the X-Men stories, put him into post-apocalyptic world. And yeah, you got to see the tragic stuff that happened in all the characters you loved,
Yep.
but you're already dealing with a rough, gruff character in a rough, gruff world. This, it took until I think it was issue 2, if I remember correctly, to figure out which of
No, it was issue 1. They revealed it at the end of issue 1.
To figure out which of the turtles was the Last Ronin, because he started off having the weapons of all the turtles and no colors identifying who he was.
Where were the other turtles, Brad?
They all died before the story started.
Right.
And what you found out was the Last Ronin, the final survivor of the turtle family, was Michelangelo. And that's where they one-upped Old Man Logan, because they took the nice, kind, joking character of the family, and they put him in the position where he's the last survivor in a horrible, horrible world that killed his family, and made him cope with that.
Yeah.
And the story and showing what happened to him after those events, and even showing what happened to Splinter, Raphael, Leonardo, and Donatello, Casey Jones. Even April O'Neil survives into this story, but she didn't survive
Not all
in
of her.
whole.
Yeah, not all of her.
Seeing
did.
what happened with all of that, honestly, reading that broke me. several times.
Yeah.
Like, it hurt reading that, and the ending, I will not spoil the ending, you can probably guess it, but the ending destroyed me.
No peace, Brad. No peace.
It destroyed me severely, but seeing...
Well, and the big thing was it was the original creative team coming back, and
Yes.
the big thing, sorry, not to interject,
No,
but
please.
the big thing was that this was actually an idea they had like 20, 25 years ago. This was something that as they were first writing the initial run on the TMNT
Yeah.
comic, that they were like, hey, wouldn't this be something if we jumped way ahead into the future, and we and they always kicked it back and forth with each other every couple of years and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then they finally sat down and they were like, hey, if we were going to do it, how would we do it? And
Yeah.
they finally mapped it out, and they finally were like, you know what? We've got the story. We know we know the story that we want to tell. Let's do it.
And I will say, what's really great about the Lost Years is they came back specifically saying that the purpose of this 5-issue limited series is that not only do they want to fill in the years for Michelangelo that happened between the time that everybody was killed to the time that he came back to New York, but they realized in telling the story of The Last Ronin, and especially the part where they kind of gave the little snippets of what happened to Michelangelo during those years, there was a whole other world of changes that happened that they could still explore, and they kind of alluded to, without explicitly saying, that the Lost Years may not be focused entirely on Michelangelo.
Right.
This could actually go and have multiple point of view characters. We don't know yet.
So they
but
also-
it's still, they are wanting to build the world and show what happened to the world.
It also
in
should
this.
be said that they had the idea for the companion series. They
Yes.
also had an idea for a sequel and a prequel, all while they were writing The Last Ronin. So they
Yes.
actually started and actually had an idea of where they could go if they wanted to do a sequel, if they wanted to do a prequel, if they wanted to do a side story. So this has actually been something that they've actually had kicking around for a while now.
Yes. So if you are a millennial that loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up and want to see a version of the story that connects to you as an adult now, go pick up the current run from IDW. Definitely take the time to go pick up The Last Ronin, and as soon as The Lost Years comes out, get that too. It is...
Basically, think
Cool.
think dystopian future from Days of Future Past with the Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Next property that IDW has been taking over, used to be Archie Comics, now IDW has it, is Sonic the Hedgehog. So I was actually very excited about the Sonic the Hedgehog announcements for two main reasons. Number one, we had Scrapnic Island, which is going to be a Sonic the Hedgehog horror story, which I love because back during the Archie run, there were a couple attempts at horror stories, which actually went very, very well.
Yeah.
But I love this specifically because they are using this to bring back some classic, like Archie comics created Sonic characters who have not made it into the current IDW run, like the one that they absolutely teased was Mecha Knuckles is coming back. And doing that in the context of a Sonic the Hedgehog horror story sounds amazing, and I am all for that.
Yeah.
But the other one that makes me incredibly excited is the Sonic the Hedgehog Tales 60th anniversary.
30th.
Oh,
You said 30th here.
30th, sorry, my bad.
Was Tales created in the 60s, Brad?
30th anniversary. 60th is a different anniversary that's coming up. We'll get to that in a minute.
It's not the numbers we have.
I had a lot of notes to take for this, thank you very much. Anyway.
Yeah, and you're doing so well with them.
So Sonic the Hedgehog, what's really great about this is back during the Archie run, Sonic the Hedgehog did some Tales specific stories, and it started off as some little fun little side stories that, it's Tales, whatever. And then after a few, they started to get a lot of people that were liking it, so they took the stories more seriously. And then all of a sudden, you started to realize that they realized they could do a lot with Tails until Tails finally got his own super form. So you had Supersonic, Hyper Knuckles, and I hate that I'm drawing a blank. I think it was Ultra Tails, which I loved because his super form was literally just a brighter colored version of him with little Tweety birds flying around him in a swarm. And I think if you were ever going to have what was supposed to be like a really tough, powerful version of Tails, that might be the best and simultaneously most undercutting way to do it. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And so now what's so great is the original writing and art team for the first run of Sonic for IDW is coming back. Writer Ian Flynn and artist Aaron Hammerstorm and colorist Reggie Graham are coming back to all work on this because they are all fans of Tails, and they're going to be doing this using the art style of the original Sega games.
Right.
Which, once again, I love, and they are going to have, they've already made it very, very clear they want to have so much fun with this.
Yeah.
So I am excited, and I think this is going to be amazing. Very quickly, IDW is also going to be doing a new run with Star Trek, which is going to be bringing back Captain Sisko, who is now coming back in his demigod form.
Is Drew Hill coming back with him? Oh, that is a reference that you do not get at all.
What's the reference to?
Sisko, the singer.
Oh, good lord.
He was part of Drew Hill.
You're killing me.
Wow, that is a reference that went way the hell over your head.
No, it's because I wasn't even thinking in that direction. I wasn't thinking Thong Song when I was thinking Star Trek, okay?
Yeah, but I bet you didn't know that he was part of Drew Hill.
No, but I still
All right,
thought,
then.
At least thought the singer, though.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so long story short, Star Trek looks like it's going to be a very, very interesting run. Go check it out when it happens. But now jumping over to Boom Studios, who's the publisher that has Power Rangers. Sorry, I misspoke about IDW having them before. Boom Studios is Power Rangers. And they have actually, once again, been doing a story of Power Rangers for the adult millennial audience, which everybody talks about. You know, we want a Power Rangers movie, or we want a Power Rangers series that's meant for us. It's a darker, grittier Power Rangers. That's what the comic books have been.
To which I always tell people, it's the Power Rangers.
Which is why you need to go and read the comics right now. The Boom Studios run for Power Rangers has been that dark and gritty, where they acknowledge Power Rangers is a story of child soldiers who have
Teenagers with attitudes, sir.
who have PTSD from watching multiple friends get slaughtered in front of their eyes and have to live with that and live with the consequences of all these things. It is the dark and gritty Power Rangers you wanted, while still having enough loyalty to the shows as far as what they're recreating, that if you have not read one of the comics, or you want to jump into the latest storyline, you'll still be able to pick up most of what's happening there, and maybe just need to backtrack on a couple minor issues. But that's it. It's still very loyal, but it's very adult, which I think is fantastic, which is why Power Rangers issue 101, coming out in October, makes me so happy, because this is going to be bringing back the original three Mighty Morphin Rangers, Jason, Trini, and Zach, and they actually were given a story in the comics to explain why they left, and it was not, oh, they're going to go be UN ambassadors. That was a cover story that they were actually being sent off on a special mission by Zordon out into space. and so now they're coming
So they're gonna
back.
be space ambassadors?
No. Space Special Forces.
Ah.
So now they're coming back as the Omega Rangers, and I love that because they, the writers, Melissa Flores and Simona. Oh my gosh,
Sound it out, Brad. You can do it.
Gianfelice. I'm done. I'm done with that one. Simona. I am so sorry, especially because she was on. She wrote for Firefly.
Yeah.
And Melissa Flores wrote for The Dead Lucky.
Yep.
But they have already made it very, very clear they want to be very loyal and sensitive to the original actors, the original storyline, and especially they want to be sensitive with the storyline for Trini, because for all of us who know what happened to that actress,
Yep.
and the horribly tragic story of why her character had to be written off and not brought back.
No.
It's nice to know that they are doing this in a way that will hopefully help build on the legacy of the actress and the character.
Yeah.
But on the other bit of Power Rangers news, because Power Rangers will team up with anybody, but especially they love teaming up with the Turtles. I think it was last year or year before, they had a wildly successful team up with the Turtles, which was very cleanly named Power Rangers / Tmnt. And now the new team up is Power Rangers / Tmnt 2, which I think is just great.
Appropriately titled, yes.
And this is a collaboration between Boom Studios, IDW, Hasbro, and Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, literally, like, all of the owners of all of the properties. Like,
it's amazing.
it's actually kind of crazy when you think about it, because you had 4 different companies with
Yes.
4 different pieces of the pie for ownership rights and distribution rights and everything like that. Literally all coming together and being like, let's do it.
Yes.
And it went so well that they were like, let's run it back.
So, I don't know if I have to tell spoilers at this point, because we're already, a year, 2 years past the first event, but the original crossover event gave us Green Ranger Shredder.
Yep.
It gave us Power Rangers Turtles.
Yep.
And it gave us a Turtle Megazord, which...
I think it also gave us Pink
good.
Ranger April O'Neil. if I
Yes, it
remember
did.
right.
It really did. And I'm good, honestly. And it gave us Tommy Oliver Foot Soldier,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I know that it ended up being a cover, which I think we could all assume, but like,
Yeah.
it was fantastic. I love the crossover event, and I am so excited for this new one.
Yep. But
Kyla, do we have anybody else jumping in the comments, or? Cool. So that's the big stuff from Boom Studios. And now for the best of the rest, as a very, very fast rundown.
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck is getting, so right now Dynamite Comics is the biggie. Of all the
Let's get dangerous.
Of all the smaller publishers, Dynamite Comics had some of the biggest announcements.
Yep.
First off, Darkwing Duck. Next year,
Yep.
they're getting a Darkwing Duck comic, which is amazing. Gargoyles, late 2022. This year, sometime maybe fourth quarter. Gargoyles comics, awesome. Here we go. Here's the 60th anniversary. So this October, for the 60th anniversary of 110th. My gosh. 110th anniversary of Tarzan, the Lord of the Jungle comic is getting released, written by Dan Jurgens, who is a legendary writer within the comic world. A longer list of credits than I can even begin to name here, so go look it up yourself, but just trust me, amazing guy. And then for the Stan Lee fans out there, Stan Lee's property, Alliances, is getting a new addition to it over at Dynamite, Alliances Orphans, which is being released October 5th. And this is being, so that is going to be a major, major thing. And then as a partnership with DeVito Artworks, King Kong of Skull Island is getting a whole series, which DeVito Artworks is the company that owns all the King Kong properties and a lot of the kaiju stuff for North America, so
Yeah.
all four. We have, which actually reminds me, the one thing that we did not mention for IDW is that back at IDW, they are actually doing Godzilla because they have Godzilla's rights. And they're doing Godzilla Monsters and Protectors. All hail the king, because Godzilla Monsters and Protectors was a kid-friendly series that got so much success that they want to do another series with it for the kids. Monsters and Protectors. That's actually what All Hail the King is for. It is all about the kaiju versus matchups with Godzilla and Mothra, Godzilla, and let's see, who was it right now? They have, I don't even have it here, but yeah, no, they're doing all the team ups. And then of course we have, who is this, Mike?
It's Alice Cooper versus the Prince of Darkness.
Because Alice Cooper is getting a comic book again.
Because it's effing Alice Cooper. That's
Alice
why.
Cooper's had a cartoon. I think he's had a comic before. I know Kiss has had both cartoons and comics.
What hasn't Kiss had?
I mean, at this point, yes. So Alice Cooper's getting his own, and the artist who's working with him seems like he and Alice Cooper are like completely in sync about what they want. So this looks like it's going to be an amazing team up.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous, and it's going to be amazing.
Yes. There it is. A lot of the classic rock and hair metal bands had something in the late 70s, early 80s. Oh, you need to? Because Kiss is a tip of the iceberg for bands that had comics.
But
I wasn't it. I think Def Leppard had a comic. So then we have Cherish the Taste of Revenge.
Yep.
Written by Katana Collins, who is responsible for Batman White Knight presents Harley Quinn, and some of the original concept art for this series was done by Mark Silvestri,
Yep.
who, once again, another legendary name in the industry. And then from apparently a little thing that Dynamite Comics had for called Project Superpowers,
Yep.
Catman and Kitten, which I was not familiar with Project Superpowers. I was definitely not familiar with Catman and Kitten. I looked into them. They look incredible. And this looks like the best kind of, like, B superhero schlock you can ask for, and I am all for it. It looks ridiculous and wonderful. And I think, we need some really fun, just Catman and Kitten stuff. It looks great. It's by writer Jeff Parker, who's responsible for Batman 66 and Aquaman, and art by Joseph Cooper, responsible for Ninjets. And then, of course,
Garbage Pail
because
Kids.
this is a thing that I guess somebody thought was necessary, Garbage Pail Kids is getting a new comic series. And it is, as if you are not familiar with Garbage Pail Kids, it is as nightmare fuel inducing as it looks like.
And sounds like, for that matter.
And if you have not seen, so it started off as, was it trading cards? And then I think
Was it toys first?
No,
and
it was
then
trading cards and then
Was it trading-
toys, and then comics, and then a cartoon.
No.
And then if you really want to torture yourself,
No, I don't.
Oh, there it is, sticker trading cards. I'm going to just go ahead and tell you, there was a live-action movie that exists of the Garbage Pail Kids. Seriously, don't go find it. Do not go find the live-action Garbage Pail Kids movie.
That's not a challenge.
You do not need
That's
to.
not an imitation.
This is not like, oh, it's The Room, it's awful, it's terrible. You can see it with your friends, have off. Don't watch the live-action Garbage Pail Kids.
I would rather watch The Room.
And definitely don't watch it in the dark.
I would rather watch.
It is horrifying.
I mean, I would rather watch The Room sober.
It made like $1 million.
If you've seen Trolls 2 and the just terrible nightmare fuel that was nightmare fuel that was so dumb it was funny. Garbage Pail Kids is just horrifying.
Yeah.
Period. It's just horrifying. Don't go watch it.
Yeah. Do we want to end there, Brad, or do we want to keep going? I feel like don't watch Garbage Pail Kids is a good point to stop.
And Dynamite is doing for the 50th anniversary of Red Sonja.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Unbreakable Red Sonja is
That's true. That's
debuting this October because the 50th anniversary is next year.
Yeah.
So they're starting the series now to build up to a big thing for the anniversary, which is going to be amazing. And if you're not familiar with Red Sonja, she's one of the classic comic characters and one of the, I think, original badass female comic characters that you can look back on as like the female equivalent of Conan the Barbarian, and just greatness.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's a bad characterization.
Yeah. Then very quickly, Valiant Entertainment had a big announcement that they have teamed up with a licensing partnership with Global Comics and have released 1,600 comics across 130 different titles on digital release through Global Comics on their app. So you can go check out their massive library on there now. And of course, Dark Horse Comics, who used to be the publisher for Star Wars before Marvel took it back. I still haven't forgiven Marvel for that, because I loved their Dark Horse run. But Dark Horse is...
Those never happened, Brad. Those don't exist.
They were some of the best Star Wars comics ever. But
those don't exist.
Dark Horse has basically decided to position themselves as the new horror center of the comic universe, with Hellboy in Love, Dead Mall, which is a horror series by Adam Kasseri?
Come on,
Adam
you got it, Brad.
Then Criminal Macabre, and
the R is silent.
Criminal Macabre and Count Crowley, or / Count Crowley, which is a team up of the two characters. From the Pit They Came.
Yep.
Then there's Carmilla, the first vampire, and Leonide, the vampire.
With a Y.
The vampire, I guess. And then Miracle at the Crow's Head. So Dark Horse Comics is the place to go for horror comics, apparently. And it looks like they're having a fantastic time with it.
Yep.
And Dark Horse Comics had a list about this long of a bunch of comic adjacent things that were just diving into their acceptance of the horror niche.
Yeah.
So go check them out if you are a big horror comic fan. And yeah. And by the way, we're not even touching on the out of touch William Shatner comments from Comic-Con. We're not touching on the Eisner Awards, which was huge and had some big wins that happened this year. And we're sadly also not talking about the Ashley Eckstein Her Universe fashion show that happened at Comic-Con. But we will absolutely try to find a time to be able to talk about that, because it was incredible and needs some time devoted to just talking about it.
Yeah, agreed 100%.
Anyway, with that, guys, Mike, is there anything that you feel like we need to leave our lovely audience on?
You know, I don't think so, Brad. I think we did a pretty good job of covering a lot of the big announcements at Comic-Con.
In an hour and 44 minutes.
Yeah. What was our original aim time that we wanted to cover this in?
An hour.
But no, in all seriousness, look, like this was we finally had people back at San Diego Comic-Con this year, right? We finally had panels again. We finally had, a convention floor where people could go and actually experience the convention experience. So I think it makes sense for us to go this long talking about everything that was announced, because, I mean, it really does seem like every company knew, with everybody being back in person, that they brought, they had to bring it, and they brought it, except for Warner Brothers, of course.
And we know that because of the comic news outnumbering the movies, even better for in person.
Yeah. And just one more thing, Brad. Fantastic Four finally has a release date.
We're probably going to get more at D23, right?
Oh, I hope I get more at D23.
We'll probably get a teaser trailer for it.
They haven't started post.
That's right, teaser trailer.
No, they haven't started any filming.
It's going to be all graphics.
My general hope is that we get
All it takes is teaser.
My general hope is that we get at least the announcement of the cast.
Could be interesting, yeah.
But I mean, we didn't even cover Guardians 3, which, you know, they said
Yeah,
that
we'll
they
touch
showed
on
at,
all that for D23.
what they showed
so.
at was really good. You know, James Gunn was very emotional, you know, talking about everything that went on. But again, just like you said, this is the first time in a long time that comics came away. When we came away from San Diego Comic-Con, and we were like, man, like the world of comics basically dominated this year.
Yes.
Like everything that's coming, everything that was announced, everything that's going on. Like, I mean, we already had Judgment Day and Dark Crisis announced before we went in.
Yeah.
And then they revealed even more stuff for that. End of the Spider-Verse. You know, everything that they announced with Tmnt. You know, this was a really big year for the comic side, which, I mean, we're in a comic shop, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I mean, not like that was planned or anything, that we're going to talk about that here.
But this was the first time in a long time where we walked away and we were like, and the comics were the focal point of the show.
Yes.
Which is great.
I love.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, you know, I've been talking for years now that I want to be able to have a Comic-Con, or just a comic convention, but definitely Comic-Con, where the comics were the center of attention again, because it felt like we hadn't had that in so long.
Well, look,
and we did. We got it. It was amazing, and honestly, it makes me so sad that we were not there to experience it, because I think if we could have been there,
that? Just put in a press request, Brad. That's all you got to do.
and then pay for tickets and all the other.
If we have press requests, we're good.
But no, like I can only imagine the kind of like goodie bag takeaways for all of these comic announcements and releases that were there. Like, can you imagine how many of these special issue zeros for these different series were out there, just
absolutely.
as a quick recap and setup?
Or like the action figures that were con exclusives, the issue zeros that were con exclusive.
Yes.
Toys, Funkos, all of that were all show exclusive.
Yes.
Like,
Well, hell, if I remember correctly, I think it was Red Sonja that actually had a whole trading card
sounds
special
like
that was released. Like, so much stuff.
but it's really
So, yeah.
easy. But you know, with you know, the consumption of media and how, you know, how big like the MCU has become and how big the movie industry is and everything like that, it's really easy to forget that all of that started in a place like this.
Yeah. And, I mean, it feels like the bigger comic book media gets, the easier it is to have different big media outlets disrespect the medium that these movies came from. Which, you know, I kind of tongue-in-cheekily commented in the description for this video that, you know, even comicbook.com didn't really report on all that many comic book announcements from Comic-Con this year, because why would a website with the namesake of comic books want to talk about comic books when you could talk about movies?
Right.
But it does kind of go to the larger point that it feels like we need a revitalization of the comic book community, which we are getting as comic book movies become more popular. The comics that they're connected to are rising in popularity. But now I think is the time that publishers can take advantage and really reel in their audience again and get back to some of the all-time highs.
Yep.
So,
100%.
With that, guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you have not already, please do not forget to like us, like the video, and follow us over on Facebook, because, you know, that's a thing. Share us with your friends, family, random strangers on the street. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell over on YouTube, because, you know, the Googles are kind of about telling you when we go live or post new videos, which we are going to be posting more pre-recorded videos very soon, because we have a whole lot of backlog to get through.
Just a little bit.
And a whole lot more lives that we're going to be doing. So, and then of course, if you want to catch more of our content but do not have time for the videos, you can always get the audios of our lives, our interviews, and a bunch of our other stuff over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
Warn me before you stick something. Stop it! Stop it!
Because, audio's a thing.
So I've heard.
But seriously, though, we would love to be able to have you check us out any and all places, whatever is most convenient for you, and maybe multiple places, because analytics matter.
Do they?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But with that, guys, thank you so very much. Kyla, any last words?
No, I mean, other than I'm super excited. I'm glad there was a lot of stuff that was announced. It's actually got me really looking forward to a lot of media consumption in the future, but it's a lot to take in, so I don't know if I have enough time.
It's fair. But yes, seriously, thank you so much for joining us. If you've actually made to the end of this video, oh my gosh, you are a trooper. But as always, I'm Brad. That's Mike. Off screen is Kyla.
Plug madness.
We're Dallas GEEK.
Plug madness.
We are at Madness Games and Comics here in Plano. Thank you once again, Chris and Chris, for allowing us to come here. If you don't know who Chris and Chris are, come to Madness. Meet them. They own this wonderful haven of nerddom.
Chris is here. Come on now.
But there's only two that you need to know.
I think the other Chris's might be offended by that, but yeah. It's okay. Oh, and of course, find Tom.
Yes.
When you come here, just no context. Just say, I need to find Tom. Just say hi. And just see what he says. But seriously, thank you so much. And until next time, once again, we're Dallas GEEK saying, see ya.